Okay, let's dive in. Imagine this. You open the mail, and boom, divorce papers. That's obviously a really tough moment.
Definitely.
But what if, right there with them, is this whole other stack of legal papers demanding, like, immediate action?
Mm-hmm.
If you're in, say, Hudson County, NJ, busy places like Jersey City, Bayonne, North Bergen, West New York, Union City, this kind of double whammy can happen.
It really can. It adds a whole layer of stress.
So that's our mission today.
Right.
Understand what it means when you get both a complaint for divorce and motion papers together, and crucially, what you absolutely need to do first.
Right. And it's interesting because these two sets of documents, they operate on totally different timelines.
Okay, so let's start with the first one, the complaint for divorce. What's that?
So the complaint, that's basically the formal start of the divorce. It lays out the grounds. Usually it's irreconcilable differences these days and says what the person filing, the plaintiff, is asking for.
Like what sort of things?
Well, the big stuff. Dividing property, equitable distribution, maybe alimony, child custody, parenting time, child support, sometimes even help with lawyer fees.
And you usually get some time to respond to that one, right?
Yeah. So typically you have a standard 35 days to file your response, which is called an answer. And just getting those papers being served, that's the formal legal step that tells you the court case has started and the court has jurisdiction.
Okay, 35 days for the complaint. But then you mentioned this other set of papers, motion papers.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds more urgent.
It absolutely is. That's where the real-time crunch comes in. Motion papers are different. They're formal requests to the court for temporary orders. The legal term is pendente lit, meaning while the litigation is pending.
Temporary orders about what?
About really immediate pressing issues. Things like temporary child custody arrangements, parenting schedules, temporary child support based on the New Jersey child support guidelines, of course.
Yeah.
Also, temporary alimony, who gets to stay in the house for now that's exclusive occupancy, maybe orders steeping anyone from selling or hiding assets.
Okay, so kind of freezing things.
Exactly. And who pays the current bills? Mortgage, utilities, insurance, sometimes even asking for help paying legal fees right at the start, what we call interim counsel fees.
Wow, okay. That's a lot of critical stuff decided temporarily.
It is, and here's the absolute key difference. Motion papers come with something called a notice of motion.
And that tells you.
It tells you there's a court date scheduled for these requests, and crucially, it gives you a strict deadline to file your response, your opposition papers.
Which is much shorter than the 35 days for the main complaint.
Way shorter, significantly. That's the immediate fire you have to put out.
So why would someone, drop both of these on you at the very same time? It seems pretty intense.
Well, yeah, it can feel that way. But often it's because the person filing the plaintiff genuinely believes there are urgent issues that just can't wait for the normal divorce process.
Like what kind of urgent issues?
It could be immediate worries about the children's safety or routine. Maybe one spouse desperately needs financial support right now to, keep the lights on.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe there's a real fear the other person might start hiding money or selling off property. Or big fights about who stays in the marital home. Even just needing help to afford a lawyer from day one.
I see. So it's a strategic move, maybe, but driven by what they see as immediate needs, trying to get some quick rules in place.
Precisely. It's about seeking those quick temporary orders and trying to establish a kind of status quo while the bigger divorce picture gets sorted out.
Okay, let's talk about that timeline again. You said it's much shorter for the motion. How short are we talking?
Typically, you're looking at maybe 14 to 21 days from when you were served to get your opposition papers filed.
Wow.
Very often, it's just 14 days for these standard initial motions.
14 days compared to 35 for the complaint answer. That's fast.
It's incredibly fast, and those opposition papers, they need to include specific things. Like an answering certification, that's your sworn statement, responding directly to what your spouse claimed in their motion. You might also file a counter motion if you have your own urgent requests.
Asking for different things, basically.
Exactly. Maybe you want a different parenting schedule, or you need support or help with fees too, and you usually include a proposed form of order, what you actually want the judge to sign off on.
And that notice of motion paper is the key to knowing the exact deadline date.
Absolutely critical. You must find that date. Because missing it, well, that's bad news.
How bad? What happens if you just miss that 14 or 21-day deadline?
The consequences can be pretty severe. The judge might just grant everything your spouse asked for in their motion by default, simply because you didn't respond in time. They might not even hear your side.
Wow. So your input is just lost.
Potentially, yes, on those initial temporary issues. And here's the crucial part. That short motion deadline takes absolute priority over the longer 35-day deadline for answering the main divorce complaint. You have to deal with the motion first.
Okay, so let's picture someone listening right now, maybe in Hudson County, holding both these sets of papers. What are the absolute immediate steps? First things first.
Okay, deep breath. Number 1, do not panic. Easier said than done, I know, but try.
Right.
Number 2, look at the papers and find the exact date of service. Write it down. Everything runs from that date.
Okay, date of service noted. Then what?
3, read everything carefully. The complaint, the summons, but especially that notice of motion and all the papers attached to it.
Got it.
4, find the motion hearing date and, even more critically, find and circle that opposition deadline on the notice of motion. That is your immediate focus.
Priority 1. What's step 5? This feels like a lot to handle alone.
It is. Step 5 is crucial. Contact a qualified New Jersey divorce attorney immediately, like today. Stress the urgency because of that short motion deadline.
And maybe someone familiar with Hudson County courts.
Definitely helps if they know the local procedures, yes. Then, 6, start gathering information. Pay stubs, tax returns, bank statements, kids' schedules, anything relevant to what's being asked for in the motion.
Okay, gather documents. What else?
7, try to avoid hashing out the details of the case directly with your spouse right now. Things you say could potentially be brought up later. Keep communication focused on necessary logistics if possible.
Good advice. And number 8.
Do not sign anything your spouse gives you related to the case without speaking to your own lawyer first, period.
Okay, that's a clear action plan. Now, what if someone doesn't act? If they miss that motion deadline? You said default orders?
Yes, the risk is very real. The judge could issue temporary orders deciding custody, support, who lives where, who pays what, all based only on what your spouse submitted, without your input.
And are those temporary orders easy to change later?
Not always. They can be modified, but it often requires showing a significant change in circumstances. These initial orders, even though temporary, can really set the tone and momentum for the whole divorce. They can be surprisingly sticky.
So inaction isn't really an option.
Inaction basically means you're giving up your chance to influence those critical first decisions that shape the immediate future for you and potentially your children.
Right. So boiling it all down, the main takeaway. Getting divorce papers and motion papers together means immediate focused action is non-negotiable.
Absolutely. Job number 1 is finding that motion opposition deadline. Job number 2 is getting a New Jersey divorce attorney, ideally one who knows Hudson County, on the phone right away.
Because they're the ones who can help you navigate that compressed timeline and protect your rights from the get-go.
Exactly. They understand the process and the urgency.
Okay, that leads to a final thought for everyone listening. Really consider how these initial temporary orders, the ones